Just hit the time. Be careful, we're on the air. I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation, and this evening we have Reverend Joe Marino? Yep. Very good. Please proceed. Oh, and yeah, good. You got the light.
Join me in prayer. Father, we take a moment to pause and acknowledge your presence. Your word says that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Therefore, may we walk in that freedom tonight as we represent Clay County and accomplish the order of business that has been set before us. We acknowledge that you have called each of us here in this room, and we do not take that responsibility lightly. Your word says, "Let him who governs do it with diligence." Therefore, we ask for divine wisdom and guidance for the men and women here in this room. We pray that your will be done in Clay County as it is in heaven, and may we see your blessing and favor upon the men, women, and children in our community. Father, I also take a moment and ask that you would give us peace and clarity at this moment. We each lead lives that can often bring anxiety, stress, and worry and doubt. And I just ask that you would touch our hearts right now. And it was your son Jesus who said, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." I pray that if anyone in this room needs that rest, that they would accept that invitation into your son's arms, and into true rest. Father, we humble ourselves before you with hearts full of gratitude. Have your way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte? Here. Commissioner Withington?
Here.
Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Commissioner Thompson?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Next on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion for the approval of this evening's agenda? Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next on our agenda are public comments. Are there any members of the public who would care to comment? If so, please come forward. Make sure the light is on the microphone. State your name and proceed. Go ahead and push your button to turn on your mic, please. There you go.
I'm 78. I'm new to this kind of technology, but thank you. I feel honored to stand here. My name is David Nelson. I've been a citizen of Clay County since I moved here in 1981, but only in recent years in retirement have I found the time to pay attention to the county that I hope to pay for the rest of my life. I volunteer one day a week as a docent at the Atkins Johnson Farm and Museum. I have enough time sitting on the front porch to ponder the past, the present, and the future. Like other human beings, I decide how to spend my time, and pondering the past is my focus in this statement. Commemoration and celebration are two related but distinct concepts. Commemoration is often in the context of an event or a person that has been influential in the world or in a person's life. It often includes a ritual of laying a wreath or flowers, a silent gathering, or a short liturgy of reflections. Commemoration is possible for events that both brought great joy into the world or that resulted in tragic loss and sadness into the world. It remains honest about the past. Celebration, on the other hand, is typically a recognition of a joy or happiness or recognition of an achievement. In such, it often includes a party, gifts, and happy participation of others. Celebration can attempt to ignore mistakes and is sometimes an attempt to rewrite history to make people feel better. I think I first learned this idea as a part of the Lutheran movement of Catholic Christianity, of which I've been a part all my life. We do not worship saints, for example, but we do commemorate men and women who have lived lives that revealed a sacred truth and inspire us to live our lives with more integrity and hope. Often in remembering a person or an event, it remains important to seek and remember the sad and broken parts, even as we receive gifts of inspiration. We even use a phrase that simul justus et peccator, which translated into English means that we are simultaneously saint and sinner. In remembering a past, we can learn from mistakes and commit to not repeating them again. As I and we prepare to spend another 4th of July and look to our 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 2026, I am hearing many voices on the media of newspapers, internet, radio, and social apps. Some seem to be suggesting that we must ignore the systemic racist slavery that has been such a significant part of our nation's history. I live in a former slave state and seek to learn more about what that meant to my siblings in the past, as well as to my sisters and brothers in the present. As we remember 1776, we can also listen to the stories of 1619. As I sit on the front porch, I realize that when Columbus discovered this land, there were somewhere between 2 and 18 million human beings living in this land. In this part of what is now called Clay County, the Osage, Kansas, and Missouri nations were living a good life. As I greet visitors at our farm and museum, I can acknowledge and honor the Osage, the Kansas, and the Missouri nations upon whose land we gather. A celebration is more festive if we ignore the tragic part of our heritage. However, a commemoration gives us the possibility of recognizing that we have made mistakes. We have even participated in an economic reality that treated some as less than fully human. We can learn from that experience and seek to build a more perfect union through our actions now. The United States, Missouri, Clay County have each made mistakes, but we are not a mistake. We can recognize it and learn from past behavior to work cooperatively with all our citizens to keep learning and restoring that beautiful vision once expressed. We can commemorate our nation in this county and be a beacon to the rest of the nation as we learn from the imperfections as we seek to affirm our common humanity. We stay human when we both stay honest and stay committed to building that more perfect union. Thank you for your willingness to listen to my statement.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else wishing to make comment at this time from the public? Very well. Seeing none, that brings us to our consent agenda.
The consent agenda allows the Commission to act upon items considered to be routine and approved in one motion. These may include items that have been reviewed by the Commission in a prior session. There will be no separate discussion unless a Commissioner requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. There are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Resolution 2023-221 is approving invoice payments from June 16th to June 27th for 537 invoices totaling $2,283,049.94. Resolution 2023-223, approving the Clay County 2023 Strategic Planning Report, and Resolution 2023-225, approving agreement to proceed with Microsoft 365 Migration Solutions with Technology Group Solutions.
Thank you. Is there first off, is there any commissioner wishing to remove any items? I see none. Is there a motion related to this evening's consent agenda? Commissioner Wagner.
Yes, move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of the consent agenda this evening. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner,
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That brings us now to our regular agenda. First item on this evening's regular agenda is 2023-222. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-222 is approving invoice payments for the Clay County Prosecutor's Office from June 16th through June 27th for 22 invoices totaling $77,310.33.
Are there any questions of the administrator on this issue? Seeing none, if there's a motion for the approval of 2023-222, Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, I did not push the button. There you are, now we go.
Move to approve 2023-222.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-222. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
That brings us to the next item, which is 2023-224. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-224 is approving donations from the Jackson County Historical Society to the Jesse James Birthplace Historic Sites, and Director Driscoll is here to provide information to the Commission.
Are there, please proceed.
Good evening, Mike Driscoll, Parks Director. This resolution just asks for the acceptance of these items for display out at the James Farm Museum from the Jackson County Historical Society. One, a theater poster, also a plaque with an engraved photo of Jesse James along with a piece of his original coffin, and then a shadow box with memorabilia from his exhumation and reburial, with also, I think, a little piece of the coffin box as well. I have not seen these items personally yet, but from the description, it looks that they would fit very well out at our displays at the James Farm Museum, and we'd ask for the acceptance and approval of this donation.
It is great to be able to celebrate our history and to acknowledge one of our more famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, citizens.
Yes.
Are there any questions or comments from the Commission? Commissioner Wagner.
Yeah, just a general one. For those who may have items, what is the process by which they reach out and donate them? Or are there certain things that you prefer to have donated, just for those who may be watching at home?
Mostly items that fit within the general theme, of course, and that also, represent what the James Farm or whatever site it might be. And of course, just a good fit into what we have and the ability to take care of it and, keep it on display.
Gotcha.
Normally Beth, our historic sites manager, determines all of that and has over the years done a real good job of that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Lawson.
The only thing I wanted to say is that I really am glad that we're doing this. That James Farm is such a great portion of our history. There's some negatives. I know people used to say, well, we don't want to celebrate a criminal, but if you know his history, the depth of the the things the family went through, that it's just part of Missouri, it's part of Clay County. We want to celebrate it. I don't care if he did have a wanted poster or not. I think it's a great draw. People come from Japan, and he's hot in Japan. It's a big deal. But yeah, I think this is a real important part of our history, and thank you for all that you're doing for this. And I'm excited. That's a nice thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It seems like I'd heard at one point that he was, I think, the second most recognizable name from United States history, right behind Mickey Mouse. I'm not entirely sure what that, Mickey Mouse. I'm not entirely sure what that says, and I don't think I would necessarily swear to the validity of that, but there was an interesting comment that I'd heard, so I thought I would share it. Any further discussion or comments? Commissioner Wagner.
Well, just to point out that the earlier conversation of celebration versus commemoration is very appropriate when speaking about Jesse James. With that, though, I will move to approve 2023-224.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-224. Further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Withington.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That brings us to the final issue on our regular agenda. That would be 2023-226. Administrator?
Resolution 2023-226 is repealing Resolution 2015-167 and approving the cooperative agreement with the City of Smithville for the annual 4th of July fireworks display at Smithville Lake. And Director Driscoll is here to provide information.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Mike Driscoll, Parks Director. In 2015, we reached an agreement passed by Resolution 215-167, setting basically a $12,000 limit for our fireworks display, which by a cooperative agreement, we agreed to pay half with the City of Smithville. We've done this for many years. Basically, over the last couple of years, we have struggled, and this is City of Smithville and us as well, trying to find a vendor to keep doing the display at that level of cost. And we were unable to this past season, so what we have is an agreement before you now we ask to repeal 2015-167 and approve this resolution to basically increase the cost up to a total of $16,000, which we would pay half for this year's fireworks display. And it would be the same general display, same place down by the dam, in cooperation with the City of Smithville and Corps of Engineers.
Thank you very much. I did have occasion to speak with the Mayor of Smithville this morning briefly on this, and his comments pretty much mirror what you just related to us. So not that that needed to be necessarily verified, but I just wanted to let the commission know that we're all pretty much singing off the same hymn book on this particular issue.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from the commission? Commissioner Wagner.
Move to approve 2023-226.
Motion's been made for the approval of 2023-226. Any further discussion?
Pardon me, Commissioners, I just want for clarification for the Commission to understand that this is similar to the prior resolution, which this is not just for this year's fireworks, but this is a commitment going forward with the City of Smithville for future fireworks to cap it at $16,000, unless we run into the same situation, and then we'll be back before the elected body asking for adjustments to it. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I thank you for the clarification. That was kind of what I was assuming, but it doesn't hurt to make that comment clear. So I appreciate that that comment to make sure that we are all, again, singing off the same page. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Wagner.
Aye.
Commissioner Carpenter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Withington,
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. Next item on the agenda, our discussion items. We have one item under discussion. If you would like to introduce it, Administrator, then we'll recognize Commissioner Thompson, who requested that this be on the agenda, and go with her.
That is correct. We were asked to place on the commission's agenda for your discussion to discuss the timing and dates of your regular commission meetings.
Commissioner Thompson, if you would like to, there we are, thank you. Please proceed.
No, thank you, Commissioner. I want to start by saying that I am proud of the work that we do here in Clay County and the strides that we have made to increase transparency with our meetings, including our live streaming and our, we've made changes in the past on our commission meeting times compared to previous times. So the meetings that we-
Excuse me, Commissioner, I can see some people straining to hear you. Could
I'm
you
sorry.
speak a little more in the mic?
I am the soft-spoken one. I will scream louder into the microphone. So basically, our current meeting times that we have now were put into place when we only had 3 commissioners at one point in time, and now we have 7 of us. So I was hoping just to have an open, transparent conversation with everybody in the room. I know we previously have done just a survey, but I think there's been a lot of chatter of possibilities and options for commission meeting times. So I thought this would be just a great way to get a nice slow agenda, just kind of an open conversation tonight. So,
Do you have any, are you proposing that we revisit it and maybe resurvey the commission for alternate times, or were you considering proposing something perhaps at a future meeting?
I'm open for this evening is just having a discussion and having, and I know that we have Commissioner Johnson is not here with us tonight. His opinion is important to me as well, and I think everybody in this room. But I would like to just have an open dialogue with everybody and just kind of get their feel for it. And there are 7 of us now. So we want to make sure, of course, as we move forward, that we take staff into consideration. This is very important to me, and making sure that anybody who does have to come to our meetings are fairly compensated. How does this affect their lives? And just kind of get some dialogue going.
By the way, I did text back and forth with Commissioner Johnson, and he said he was going to make every effort to listen in live, or certainly he will be hearing it back. So, yes, he is prepared to do his due diligence and be up to speed on this subject. So that's nice of you to mention that he was not here and not able to participate at this moment, but I'm sure he will in the future. Anybody have any any other points that they would like to make? Any comments? Okay, Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. So I'll just mention the only change that I've had since the last time we discussed this was, as some know, I do adjunct teaching at UMKC. That had always been on Thursdays. That is now going to switch starting this fall to Mondays. So to the extent that Thursday is a popular choice. I couldn't do it before, now I can, if that's where we go. So just to mention that own change in personal schedule. So I'll leave it to the rest of everyone else to decide.
Commissioner Lawson.
The only thing I wanted to ask was to our administrator, have you had any conversations at all with our employees and how our staff, what their thoughts are on it?
So, first of all, let me start out by saying it certainly is the commission's authority to decide when your meetings are, what days, what nights, and to set those. I have had staff reach out when this item was put on the agenda, and actually from the last time that this was discussed by the commission. And so, to be honest, and I think Commissioner Thompson mentioned it, is there would be disruption. There would be disruption for some of our employees in their personal lives, whether it's dealing with childcare issues, if we go to all-night meetings or we change to a different night. Disruption if they have commitments, whether it's children in signed up for leagues because Thursday night was free and now it's not if we move. Other obligations that our employees belong to that that participate in church activities and different things that they've signed up for. So, the other thing to think about is if you move to a Thursday, we do have some hourly employees that come and attend and work behind the scenes for our commission meetings. And so how we accommodate that and minimize overtime is we adjust hours. When it's on a Wednesday, we have Thursday and Friday to adjust hours. If we move to a Thursday, as Commissioner Wagner mentioned, then we have one day in the week. We only have Friday to adjust hours. The other item to remember from staff's perspective is we have staff members who are liaison to other county boards and commission meetings. And so, they will have either a planning zoning, they'll have a park board, they'll have an airport meeting besides our commission meetings. And if they're at night, then there's at least 5 night meetings out of 20 work days a month that our staff members will have very long days. And the other item I would say is we're not successful all the time, but some of the times we are when we have 3 o'clock meetings and we have others that we're inviting in to present to the commissioners. We always give them the option whether they'd like to be at the night meeting or whether they'd like to be at the 3 o'clock meeting so they could come during business hours typically. And so if we go to all night meetings, that won't be available also. So I throw those things out because I have had some conversations, employees have approached and just said, it will be disruptive. Whatever the commission decides to do, we'll make it work, but there will be some challenges for some of our employees.
Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, so I'm fine with whatever we decide. But when it comes to staff, you really don't just have Friday, right? You can comp time on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Friday, so they could be comped before Thursday, or before earlier in the week, not just after.
Well, you could, but
Yeah,
then
so-
you're guessing how many hours they would be here.
Yeah.
And then, so if you don't comp type enough, you'll have to do it on just Friday, because again, FLSA decides the week, and so is what our work week is. And so it can't go into the next work period.
Yeah, no, I understand that. In the private sector, I think I'm probably the only one up here that works in the private sector. We're working whenever we're told to work, right? So I understand that, but I know there's a lot of staff here that never speak. Do they have to be here? I mean, I know you guys have your huddle or your meeting after the next day after the commission meeting to discuss. I mean, do they have to sit through this meeting? I would assume the answer is no. I would assume that you're probably asking them to come in case there's a question or something, but I don't think all the staff have to always be here.
And you don't see necessarily all the staff at every meeting. So for example, Director Driscoll from Parks isn't always here unless there's something related to Parks. But there are key members of the staff that are here in case the commissioners have a question or the public comes up and has a question, then we like to have those experts here that we can provide that information.
Yeah, and I understand that. But I know that sometimes we have Carl and Terry here. They don't all have to be here. So but I'm fine with whatever we decide. My new employer is going to work with me regardless, so I'm fine. But Thursday works if that's what works for the rest of the commission. So I'm flexible. I know when I talk to Jay, he just doesn't want to do every Wednesday night because he has church. You can't do Tuesday, so Scott can't do Monday. Or Tuesday. So it's either Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm fine with whatever, just whatever you guys want to do.
I'd like to ask a question also. Not only is it staff, you had mentioned that staff does, of course, is there for meetings for different boards and commissions, some of which use this particular space. Do we, it might be a good, or am I mistaken? I thought that's something else we would take into account as we were trying to adjust our schedule is if, for example, although it's on a Tuesday night, planning and zoning uses this room. Tuesday nights is not really on the, on the list right now of possible switches, but I think that's something else we want to look at as far as what other groups use this night. So would we be telling, and I don't know when Parks Board meets, but would we be telling them that they would not have the space available on, say, Thursday nights So I think that's something we might want to check into and see what other groups use these particular rooms.
Most of our county boards and committees usually are on Tuesday nights.
That's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't totally sure. That's why I mentioned that. The other thing is, I don't know that it might not be a bad idea, because we're kind of surveying ourselves here, if it might be advisable to get the views of staff in maybe more of a survey way. I don't know whether that makes sense or not, but it strikes me as one way to go about it would be to ask staff what their thoughts were. We employed that method when we did our strategic planning meeting last month. We brought staff in and they gave us their views on various items. It seems like it might be a one way to go would be to solicit their views on different times in a more confidential basis. So that's just an observation I had. Any further discussion or questions? Commissioner Lawson.
Well, so at this point, what are we going to do going forward as far as setting the day or?
Because it is Commissioner Thompson's discussion item, I was going to ask her what she might want to be, what she would like to see come from this discussion, and if we do give instruction to the staff, we need to kind of make sure we're all on the same page with that.
All right, and for me, it doesn't matter. I luckily don't have little kids at home anymore, and so, you know, I'm pretty much a free woman.
Okay, Commissioner Thompson, if you would like, do you have any, was there anyone else? I don't want to start closing. Okay, let me go ahead and go to Commissioner Withington, then I'm going to go to you, not necessarily semi for closing, but just to ask kind of where you would like to see this go from here. And then at some point, because it is your item, I want to make sure you have the last say on this issue. With that, Commissioner Withington.
Yeah, you used the Parks Board as an example that might use this space. According to their last, I just pulled up my emails, according to their last several open meeting notifications, they've been meeting at the Parks Board office, so I don't think them using this space is a concern.
No, in fact, that's why I said I don't know when and where they meet. I hope that I communicated. I was just saying an example.
I was just using,
Yeah.
answering your example. So, yeah, so I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, so, yeah, if there is a board and commission that uses our spaces, we would want to take that into account going forward, I believe, just to, like I say, I wanted to use a specific example just so it was a little bit more illustrative, but that aside, anyone else wish to comment before we go to Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Thompson, give us kind of your sum up and tell us where you would like to see this go from here.
Yeah, no, I think this was a good first step in having just some open dialogue. I know we do a lot more back here, and I figure it was a good way to bring it forth and be a little more transparent. I think there's some information we still need to gather, and that was the whole point of this conversation, to see if there's any conflicting times and dates, because I know the boards that I'm on conflict on other days of the week. So I feel very comfortable with saying that maybe we bring this up again next week if we can gather some additional information. Hopefully we have another commissioner that join us and give us his views, and maybe we can see if there's some possibilities here if we want to keep it the same.
So we want to give, if we give it over to staff, do we want them just to kind of come up with more information? Because if you want to bring it up as a resolution, we almost have to have some kind of a specific thing that we would be discussing, like a particular day and time.
Commissioner, I think we'll just end up probably having another discussion. And if I'm wrong, I think you asked County Administrator just for some information on meetings that come on the, and maybe even like a brief opinion from staff to see what their feelings and thoughts were. And I'm comfortable with that.
So the way you'd like to see this go forward is to have it put on for discussion either next week or the following week, depending on if we can get that information?
Yes, please.
Okay. And that's pretty much the entirety of at the moment where you'd like to go with it?
I feel comfortable with that.
Okay. Does everyone else feel comfortable with that as a goal? Does staff feel comfortable with that level of instruction?
I think so.
Okay. If not, obviously, Commissioner Thompson can perhaps clarify if that becomes an issue. Very well. That concludes discussion items. That brings us to county administrator comments. Administrator?
Just one item, and that is that county administrative offices will be closed Tuesday in observance of July 4th celebration.
All right. And that brings us to commissioner comments. Commissioner Withington. Oh, I am sorry. I keep forgetting I need to switch
So
over.
just want
There
to
you
wish
go.
everybody a happy Independence Day. And also last week, when I met with the Kansas City Royals ownership group, I mentioned to them that several of us from the Maple Park Middle School community had nominated Deputy Bransfield for the Buck O'Neill Legacy seat, and the ownership group passed that information along, and Friday I was told that Deputy Bransfield will be awarded the Buck O'Neill Legacy seat in July, so.
We'll look forward to any updates you have on that. Thank you. Commissioner Lawson.
Okay, I also like to have everybody have a very safe and wonderful 4th of July. Remember what we're celebrating, how fortunate we all are to live where we do. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, where are we on 911?
We are working on it.
Yeah,
We're working on it. In fact, we met last week, and I think we have a meeting with Excelsior in about a week and a half. Getting everybody scheduled, because they're a key part of this, because they already have something.
right.
Yeah.
Right, well, so what was the decision where they were concerned, or they hadn't reached a decision yet?
We haven't met with them yet. We're meeting with them to talk about what their options might look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. Again, please have a happy and safe 4th of July. Just a request for everyone to remember their neighbors in the course of their celebration, because sometimes in the course of celebration, we seem to forget who they are and that they may want to sleep sometime before 1 a.m. All kidding aside, enjoy. Thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Well, I'll just co-sign to Commissioner Lawson's point that the United States is the greatest country in the world, and I think is central and integral to the world order, that it's produced so much opportunity and good things. And love this country, proud of it, and want to do all that we can to keep her going strong. So,
Commissioner Thompson.
I'll just wish everyone a happy and safe 4th of July as well. And at the Thompson household, we will be celebrating our oldest Thompson, will be turning 6. So brace yourself.
I also want to join the general consensus that everybody not only enjoy family and friends over the 4th of July holiday, but also do keep in mind that we are celebrating more than barbecue and fireworks, that this is a holiday that commemorates the sacrifice of many of the folks who came before us. I'm going to take a quick moment, and I'm just going to give a little bit of a extremely brief report on some of the stuff that's going on, more particularly with Mark. We have been working with our friends in Platte County to try to do our best to make sure that we are able to get those issues forwarded, particularly those related to transportation, to get them, make sure that those issues are moving forward as quickly as possible. Next month, working with Platte County, we will be meeting with some of the other counties in what has become known as the collar counties. What we hope to do is to meet with them and to find areas in which we have common interests, so that we can make sure that those of us who are in the surrounding counties who have perhaps different issues that we are dealing with, and those who are in the so-called Core 4 are having our views being heard. One of the initiatives that's being put forth right now is there are meetings taking place as an adjunct to the Surface Transportation Committee And what that is about is to make sure, is to review the way in which projects are weighted so that we can verify that we are in fact getting a fair shake as a collar community. So that is currently going forward. The meeting I talked about with some of the other collar communities will not take place until July. Once that has happened and I can kind of gauge what the interest is in some of those other communities, I look forward to coming back and letting you know where we're at before we go very much further on that. But we are trying to basically find a group of us that have commonality of interest so that we can make sure that we are getting those things through our friends at MARC that we should get, getting basically our fair shake and our fair due on, in this particular case, transportation monies. With that concludes this meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you.